We are going to have some fun with the great Charlie Hurt, Washington Times opinion editor, Fox News contributor. Charlie, welcome back. All right, last night,
great to see you, Larry.
Tucker Carlson gave a great interview with former President Trump. Now, we're going to give you a couple of clips. The first one is going to be about Mr. Trump and how he will never give up the presidential race. Please take a listen.
Is there anything they could throw at you legally that would convince you to drop out of the race? If you get convicted in this case in New York,
no, I'd never drop out. No, I'd never drop. It's not my thing. I wouldn't do it.
So, Charlie, he's going to fight to the end. He is going to fight to the end, and I am soliciting your comments on such things.
Yeah, it's amazing. The whole interview just kind of reminded me of how much I miss the guy. Mm-hmm. He's a bold colors kind of guy. He answers questions very directly. Obviously there are questions that he doesn't want to answer, but when he wants to answer, there's nobody clearer. We don't have anybody in politics today who is as clear as Trump is about saying what he wants to say. And when you compare an answer like that to the answers you get from Joe Biden these days about how he spent the Easter egg hunt or something like that, it's kind of shocking, the difference between the two.
You know, most politicians faced with a question like that would have hemmed and hawed and hedged and maybe run out for a quick cup of coffee and then come back and hope it was all over. Whereas this guy pounds away and continues to fight. And you and I both know, by the way, he can be convicted by some goofy New York jury because there's no Republicans in New York except me and my dinner group. But the fact is he'll keep appealing it, right? And keep appealing it and appealing it, and his numbers will probably go up. So, I don't know. So there's, I mean, on a pure fighter basis, Charlie, is what I'm getting at. Fighter basis.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And by the way, that answer he gave is probably going to just cause him more problems. I'm convinced he's going to be indicted multiple times between now and the election. This is how crazy, this is how wacko these people are. So he's probably bringing himself more trouble. But to him, the more important thing is he doesn't care. He's going to keep fighting.
All right. So here's another one. Tucker Carlson about Joe Biden's whatever Easter vacation in Ireland. Take a look.
He's now in Ireland. He's not going to have a news conference. When the world is exploding, I own property in Ireland. I'm not going to Ireland. The world is exploding around us. You could end up in a third world war, and this guy's going to be in Ireland and not having a news conference. He hasn't had a news conference, I guess, in months.
All right, Charlie, no news conference, shouldn't be in Ireland, third world exploding. The only thing Mr. Trump missed was Ireland has the fourth lowest corporate tax rate in the Western world. But let's put that aside.
Lower taxes than we do.
I know, way lower. But what'd you think of that response? Why is Biden in Ireland then afraid to talk?
It's another reminder when you compare, it's like we're frogs being boiled in water. We've sort of been with Joe Biden, this long train wreck with Joe Biden for 2 years. You don't, it's hard to remember just how, as bad as he was when he started off, he's so much worse today than he was even when he started. And so when you compare that to another guy like Donald Trump, and you realize that this is a guy who can think, who can answer questions, who has vision, who understands what's going on around him, compared to Joe Biden, who's just sitting there waffling around looking for staffers to get him out of having to answer questions. And I loved what Donald Trump was, where he was talking about how he knows people who have made their fortunes between the age of 80 and 90, talking about people who have their fastball in their 70s and 80s and 90s, who are completely there. There are a lot of those people around. Joe Biden isn't one of them.
He is not one of them. He's running a basement strategy in the middle of his presidency. It doesn't work. I'm sorry I got to go, Charlie Hurt. But thanks a million for helping us out. No basement strategy. Folks, I'll be right back with